Hey Roonies. So I watched the Murder Drones pilot a day or two after it came out, and I've been meaning to talk about it ever since, so here I am. I don't like it. What's that? Why don't I like it? Well, why don't you watch the video and find out, you silly Billy. So how this video is gonna work is I'm going to split this review into different sections, each focused on a certain aspect of the pilot that didn't work, at least for me. Let's start with the storytelling.
We are worker drones.
Show don't tell is an infinitely important rule in writing, because it allows the audience to engage with the story. Murder Drones doesn't quite seem to understand this, since it places the viewers into an unfamiliar world while only giving dialogue to provide any context, making it feel a tad incomplete. But Kevin, why are you taking this so seriously? It's a comedy. Well, yeah, but it's obviously trying to tell a big story that's meant to be taken seriously, which means the comedy shouldn't be a replacement for proper storytelling. The pilot opts to feed you information rather than leave you clues that allow you to figure out the context and plot yourself, which makes it way less immersive. Same thing with characters. It tells you the motivations and thoughts of the characters without letting you understand them. Why is Uzi so hell-bent on defeating the murder drones? We don't know. Why is her dad so disappointed in her? We don't know. Why is In considered useless by the other murder drones, even though he's been shown to be just as capable? I'll give you a minute. We don't know! It also tries to have emotional moments, but they're not emotional because the characters don't change. The dad's portrayal isn't surprising because we never expected more from him. There was never a good bond between Uzi and her dad, so nothing feels lost. From beginning to end, the storytelling in this pilot is really clunky. It would have been better if more effort was put into the characters and premise.
Hope you're having important character growth or something, though.
It's not funny. It's really not funny. Trust me, I'm an expert at not being funny. It tries so hard to be self-aware, but it's not clever. Now, self-awareness can be a great source of humor if done well. For example, the Sam & Max cartoon uses self-awareness to parody the children's entertainment genre by playing around with its usual tropes.
Remember, kids, we're professional cartoon characters. Don't try this at home.
But Murder Drones doesn't do anything creative with that self-awareness, and instead just points out tropes like it's some sort of CinemaSins video. All the attempts at humor come off as forced and obnoxious, making the whole thing feel rather awkward. But I think my biggest issue with the humor is that it makes the tone incredibly inconsistent. Murder Drones can't decide whether it wants to be a serious thriller or a lighthearted comedy. There are many cases where something dramatic or emotional happens, followed immediately by a joke, which makes for a dizzying experience. Needless to say, this hurts the pilot considerably. How dare you, Kevin? Your animations are crap. It's not like you can do any better. And you're right. I never said I could make anything better, but look at it this way. Let's say go to a Burger King and buy some chicken nuggets and fries, only to find out they taste like toasted tires with a side of shoelaces. Now, do you have to be a master chef to know that Burger King is trash? No, right? Even an average schmuck like me knows that eating a Burger King is like a death sentence for your taste buds. Wait, what was I talking about again? Oh yeah, the visuals. It's hit or miss, because on one hand the textures look amazing and the animation's really lively. Credit where credit's due, the animators really knocked it out the ballpark. But on the other hand, the environments look sterile and bland. It's all muddied and lifeless with barely any contrast, and the fact that most of the characters are the same color really doesn't help. This could have easily been fixed by just having a more diverse color palette. That may sound like a nitpick, but a bland environment can make an animation incredibly boring to look at. This is probably the aspect I have the least to say about, but it still drops down the quality of the pilot. It's so over-dramatic and often out of place. Like sometimes characters would just have a normal conversation, and then there's just like interrogation music in the background.
Well, I'd say everyone knows Khan's daughter, but
The score makes the whole thing sound like one big trailer. I swear, you cannot go 2 seconds without it going ba 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 ba.
No more feedback on my repression today!
No, I'm sure.
Characters are probably the most important part of any story. They pretty much determine whether or not a story is good and steer who the audience follows. So, are the characters of Murder Drones good enough to save it? No, not really. Uzi's a pretty boring protagonist. Her only personality trait is angsty teenager, and she never experiences any actual character growth. She's an incredibly one-dimensional character with no real motivations, depth, or personality. But whatever, she's not the worst character in this pilot. That honor goes to N. N is quite possibly one of the worst cases of annoying comic relief-itis I've ever seen. They put so much focus on him being wacky and zany that they completely butcher him as a character. He doesn't add anything to the pilot, no new information, interesting viewpoints, or anything. He only exists to be a comic relief. He doesn't even have a good reason to help Uzi, he just magically realizes that worker drones and murder drones aren't so different. After one conversation. You mean to tell me that after just one conversation, he's willing to give up a job that means a lot to him, especially after being validated by people he looks up to? If that's not lazy writing, I don't know what is. Okay, let's just get to the conclusion. Now, I know my review has been incredibly negative, but I still have a deep respect for Liam Vickers and everyone else who worked on the show. Creating an original project, especially here on YouTube, is an extremely difficult task, and I can't say I blame them for how the pilot turned out. Heck, if you like murder drones, I totally get it. It looks cool, and it definitely has a few good ideas here and there. However, I personally feel like the poor execution ruins a lot of its potential and makes it rather disappointing. 3 out of 10. Well, that's it. Goodbye.